The great thing about this video is that the breakdown is perfect for beginners, so then you'll get to really understand how the moves work, how the techniques are performed, but also, if you've already done Heian Sandan, it's a great way to look at how you can sharpen up your performance and make your kata look even better. Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you just joined us, you are watching Norwich Karate Academy. Be sure to check out all our other videos, and while you're there, click the subscribe button to keep up to date with all our content. So the kata for today's episode is going to be Heian Sandan, and we're going to be focusing on two particular parts of the kata. The start, where you have to do two double hand block with an inside block and a groin block, and also a very unique part of the kata toward the middle of the kata, where we do a spinning strike and landing in horse stance. So as you can see from the first few moves of Heian Sandan, you're actually having to perform a double hand block, which includes an inside block and a groin block. Now, from looking at a video, especially if you're a beginner, it's very easy just to see that hand are changing, but there's more to it than that when you're performing these techniques. So to keep it very, very simple, you can simply follow along on this video on how to perform the double hand block with inside block and groin block. Simply have one hand out doing an inside block, while the other hand does a groin block. Now, the best way to think of this is your hand have to go across your body. They never change positions until you block. So you're simply thinking hands come across, and then the hand that is at the lowest point perform the inside block first. So then this hand comes on the inside to perform the groin block. So all you're simply thinking is hand across, and then the hand that is at the lowest point perform the inside block first. And then once this performs the block, you perform the groin block with the other hand. So you're simply squeezing your hand in, almost like you're trying to get your elbows in line, and then you're blocking inside block and then groin block. To make sure that you're doing this correctly, avoid this really, really common mistake. What tends to happen is when your arms come across this way, the groin block action from this hand tends to happen first, which means the inside block comes round this way, rather than your hand coming from this action and then performing the groin block. What tends to happen is the groin block happens a bit too early, and then the hand comes on the inside. What should happen is, instead of coming on the inside this way, the inside block hand had to come round first, so then you can perform the groin block. It's making sure that that inside block almost happens a split second before the groin block, so your hand or your arm gets out of the way and you can perform the groin block at the same time in this action. The next step would be to start speeding it up gradually so that the transition into each block is smoother. Now, at this point, we've been focusing on squeezing your arms in to really emphasize that squeezing action before you block. Now try to think, once your elbows touch, you're simply relaxing your forearms so that you can simply change your arms nice and smoothly. Yes, if you're still not sure where to put your arms, you can simply emphasize that movement to make sure your hands come in to ensure that you can still do the block correctly this way, but then try to think almost like once your elbows touch and you're relaxing your arm, you can make your movement nice and sharp so that every time when you move, it's still making sure that when you block, your groin block comes from the inside of your arm rather than from the outside this way. So you're making sure that your hands come in, your elbows touch, and you simply change your arm nice and smoothly as if you're performing an inside block and a groin block as you normally would. So once you've got the idea of that, you can start adding it to the kata. Now, just because the first move is an inside block doesn't mean you have to change anything we've just talked about previously. All you're simply thinking about is getting the timing right. So if you're starting to learn the kata, you can focus on getting your feet in the right position first, and then think about the rule we talked about before, where you can't swap your arms over. You simply cross your arms and then you change. Thinking about what we talked about before, there's no change over. It's simply a cross and change, a cross and change. Then you would do it the same, performing the other way when you turn inside block this way. So once you perform it from this action, your hands come across. They don't change here. They simply come across, and then you change when you're actually performing the block each time round. And finally, it's about getting the timing right. Once you have completed that first double hand block, you should be immediately thinking about performing the second double hand block. So the timing very much is 1-2. So as you perform this inside block with a nice solid finish, it's thinking about a 1-2 timing. As soon as you have completed this first one, you complete the second one in quick succession, but still making sure that you finish each block before the next. So it's a quick 1-2 timing, and thinking about what we said before. Once your elbows meet, it's that nice quick change. But if you're struggling with the timing or the technique, simply think about breaking down the technique so you're performing the blocks correctly in the correct way before you then start speeding up the timing in this direction. Just a quick reminder, keep up to date with Norwich Karate Academy by clicking that subscribe button. So another unique part of Heian Sandan which people struggle with is the spinning action which is required to go from one move, spinning round and finishing in a different stance, whole stance in this situation, and performing a back of the hand strike. A lot of people tend to struggle with keeping their balance, getting their line right, and also trying to perform it fast without wobbling or affecting their technique. So it's all about getting your feet in the right position before you complete the turn. So breaking down the spin will actually be a big help. So to start with, in a front stance position, you're keeping your weight on your front leg as you spin round completely, so your back is facing the wall, and then focus on getting your foot in the right position that you need to, so it doesn't go too wide or the other way. Focus on trying to get your feet in a nice straight line, and then once you've done that, you're going to be able to find performing the whole stance is going to be so much easier with the stance being in a straight line. The hands don't play so much of a part in this spinning technique. If you focus on your hand too much, you won't be able to get the direction and the spin correct. Focus on making sure that you keep your weight nice and low. Focus on getting your foot in the right place and then complete the turn in whole stance. If you go too wide or too far over the other way, you're then going to find that your line is off, and overturning, underturning will mean you will lose your balance. Once you get the hang of turning and putting your foot in the right place before completing the turn, it's then thinking about making it one slow, continuous turn, but think you are in a very narrow corridor. When you turn nice and slowly, you don't want your leg going out at any point. You want to imagine that you've got two walls very close to you and you're squeezing your way through that gap, and that way you can make sure you carry on in a straight line without veering off to the sides. Gradually start speeding it up so that it becomes one nice smooth move, and you're also making sure that you keep your weight down. It's not an up and down action. You keep your weight down so you have good control over your spin, and then this way you'll have a really good idea of where your feet are, and you can finish that turn in a nice low whole stance. As you're going through that speed, you can then start to add the arms. But it's very important that you don't let your arms influence the turn, because there's no swinging involved, there's no throwing your arm out too early. It's the same way we talked about having two walls very close together and you've got to squeeze through that gap. Your arms do the same action. There's no swinging action here. Your arms squeeze in as you turn your body, and then you strike at the last moment, so everything's travelled in one nice straight line and you don't swing your arm round. That's where you're going to lose your balance. So you're focusing on that squeeze everything in, keep your weight down nice and low whilst you then perform the technique as you finish the stance. And then this way you can gradually start speeding up the turn so it becomes one nice smooth motion. So two quite unique parts of Heian Sandan that either people tend to struggle with when they're first learning the kata, so that hopefully this breakdown will help you, or if you're simply looking to sharpen up your kata, maybe if you're not sure where your hand position should be, or maybe when you spin you're losing your balance or end up having your foot in the wrong place, these are here to help you. Thanks ever so much for watching, and as always, please subscribe to our channel so you can be the first to know when we do release a new video on Norwich Karate Academy. See you soon.